Hello, we proceed with our subject that is a civic and a moral education. So on the last sessions we have started looking a lot of chapters. So I want to remind you that we have learnt first chapter or chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and this is the chapter 5, which is cherishing your community. So before discussing key issues which found in this chapter, we have to learn the introduction of this chapter, so as to find out or to determine those key terms or those key issues which found in this chapter. So in standard 4 you learned how to cherish your community by caring for oneself and others. You also identified acts of child abuse and protected children from such acts. In this chapter, we will learn more about the cherishing your environment by evaluating how the environment is being degraded where you live, so that you can educate your community on the effect of environmental degradation. So a short introduction of this chapter tries to link from what we learned on the several chapters. So here on this chapter we are going to discuss a lot about how can we preserve, how can we conserve our environment. And in this also we will start looking at the meaning of environment. That is the first one. And second one, also after reading this chapter, you should make sure that you can educate your society how they can protect the environment, how they can protect their environment apart from being degraded or degraded. So let us continue. Preserving the environment. So we have to know the meaning of environment. The word environment refers to the place we live and every surrounding us. It includes natural features like mountains, forests, rivers, lakes, oceans, and valleys, as well as man-made features like buildings, roads, railways, airfields, and farms. Study the following pictures and answer the questions that follow. So here we have to know the meaning of environment. So when we're talking about environment, is each and everything which surrounds us as a human being. As a human being. So here those things which surround us are categorized into two groups. The first group is those natural features. So when we're talking about natural features, are those features which are not man-made, or human beings do not engage in case of producing or making several natural features. So here are a good examples. For example, there is mountains, forests. So here we focus more on the natural forests, rivers, lakes, oceans, and valleys, as well as valleys. So these are examples of things which surround us, which are being contained in our environment. Also, there is another group of things which surround us, which are man-made. So these are buildings. So people do engaging in case of building a lot of buildings. So here there is roads, railways, airfields, and farms. So these also are good examples of things which surround us, but which are man-made. So there is a picture here which you have to study a picture which will fall down after here, and thereafter you have to tackle that questions that will be after a figure which you are going to see. Oh, the picture is this. So you have to study it very carefully. You have to study very careful about each and everything which appears in this picture, so as to answer the questions that will follow. So here we may see there is hills, mountains, stones, trees, water. So these are examples of things which surround us. So you have to that is the first picture, and there is a second picture that is this is also try to show there is another picture. There is several buildings. So these are buildings, these are roads, cars. There is a car, and each and there are trees, and among things which found in this picture. So after studying carefully these two pictures, you have to answer the questions that follow. So the first question is, what do you see in picture 1 and 2? So you have to mention all things which you have observed in first picture and second picture. Also differentiate the original of things you see in the two pictures. Also here you have to make you have to differentiate between all things which are man-made and other things which are not man-made. So I mean natural features. So you have to differentiate those things which found in these two chapters. I mean in these two pictures. Also, have you ever seen such things in your environment? So if there are several features which found in these two pictures, you have to make it, or you have to trace back, or make it. You have to make it, or you can compare it with your common environment, or in your environment. Is it true that there are some features which found in these two pictures? Also, if you can observe on your environment, are they exist or not? So these, or you have to observe by using these two pictures. So after discussing the meaning of environment, also we have to know the activities leading to the environmental degradation in our environmental degradation environmental degradation and their effects. So after looking the meaning of environment, also we have to find out other issues or other issues concerning environmental degradation. So when I'm talking about environmental degradation, it simply means that in Kiswahili we call it uharibifu wa mazingira. So there are several issues which can interfere or which can cause the environment to be degraded or to be polluted. So you have to find several things which can degrade our environment. So here, after looking those things which can make environmental pollution, also you may see negative effects or effects that can happen where the environment will be failed to be observed or conserved. So here you will see there are several factors which make environmental degradation. Some of them are human activities. There are several human activities which make environmental to be degraded, like farming or agricultural activities, or like livestock keeping. I mean, in agricultural activities, I think it involves two things. The first one is keeping of animals, and the second one is cultivating of crops. That can be cash crops or food crops. So those are the issues which are being included on the agricultural activities. So due to those agricultural activities may cause environment to be degraded. So that is first. So there are natural factors. So when I'm talking about natural factors, are those factors which cause environmental degradation without man-made to be involved on that. So these factors come automatically. These come naturally without man-made. So it can be floods, also earthquake, and others. So here there are several examples like human activities, as I tried to mention, like farming, livestock keeping, mining, industrial production, natural events, that is environmental degradation, including floods, as I was trying to say. Also volcanic eruptions and strong winds. So those are the examples. Those are the examples of environmental. As an example, those are the factors which may cause environmental degradation. Also, after looking the several factors which may lead environmental degradation, you have to answer these questions like, which activities mentioned in the story contributed to the environmental degradation? So if you have learnt or you have read a story which I was passed here recently or a few seconds ago, you will see several examples of activities that may cause environmental degradation. So you have to mention those activities. Also, what problems did you, what problems did the residents of Honda face from fire to prepare their farms? So if you can read that passage carefully, you can answer those questions according to the chapter or this module which we are talking about. So you can't answer these questions without reading a passage as it has appeared there. So there is another activity also, you may read it so as to answer the questions that follow. Also, you can ask yourself, even you are at your environment, there are several activities, there are several human activities which are being conducted, and those activities may cause environmental degradation. So you have to find out those factors which may cause environmental degradation. Also, you can categorize them into natural factors and man-made factors that cause environmental degradation. So after reading environmental degradation and its effect, so also you can ask yourself, what are the negative effects or what are the impacts which may happen where environmental will be degraded. So you may see, if we have a piece of land which we conduct in agricultural activities, if it will be degraded, what are the outcomes which may happen there? So those have to ask yourself. Also, you may see through those passages as appears here. So after looking that, let us see environmental education for community. So if we have learned about environmental degradation and their impacts, I mean positive impact and the negative impact. If we want to reduce negative impact of environmental degradation, what can we do so as to be out of that? Also, if we have learned positive impact of environmental degradation, if are not there, so it's okay. So if are there, you have to study so as to find out how can we proceed with it so as to get a positive impact maybe can be happen in our environment. So here environmental education for community. So if we want to preserve our environment or to avoid our environment to be degraded, we have to provide education to the community. We do normally know that in our community there are several people who do not know negative impact of environmental degradation. So we have to be role models to other people in our society through educating them, through telling them negative impact which may come where environment will be degraded. So that is education which we are talking here. So if we want to preserve it or if we want to be out of it, we have to play a vital role in case of mobilizing, educating our society so as to avoid it, as appear here. Also, after looking the education, also we have to see community development activities. Community development activities. So community development activities are community development activities. So you may see there is another picture here which tries to show the environment, how pupils here try to plant several trees so as to preserve, also as to make the environment to be out of being degraded. So you may see another picture here which try on another, there are several human activities which also can cause the environmental degradation. That's why these are grasses which have been cut at somewhere so as to feed the animals. Cattle here, you will see cattle and other animals which are related. So these activities also may cause the environmental degradation. Also, after looking that second, you may find out these questions: which activities control environmental degradation? How would you participate in improving the environmental at your school or home? Also, you may read this story so as to answer the questions that follows. So there are several questions here, but you have to read this story so as to answer the questions that is. These are questions which you may answer after reading a story. So a first question is, what was the problem with daughter's home environment? So if you can read that story, I think you will answer those questions as appear here. So another issue is community development activities. Community development activities are those lead to prosperity of community. Example of development activities are construction of school buildings, dispensaries, roads, canals, and water pipes. Development activities are done by all members of the community. As a part of community, we must participate fully in such activities. We can take part in community development activities in different ways. So here, when we're talking about development activities, are those activities which which help people to improve their living standard from low level up to the upper level. So if people, those issues, we call them development activities. So you may see here community or development activities like fishing, agriculture, and other constructive activities like dispensaries, as we saw here, also construction of roads, railways, and other constructive activities. So here you may see people as they try to talk about or to see how they can be engaged in several activities. So after that, you have to answer the questions. If you have learned carefully, if you have understood this mode or this chapter, you can try to read or to answer those questions as appear here. There is part 1, write true for a true statement and a false for a false one. So there is the first one is flowing, litter, and cutting down trees contribute to the environmental degradation. So you have to answer this question, if it is true or not, according to the knowledge, according to the knowledge which you get through whole chapter. So let us end here in this chapter. See you on another chapter.